From Yankee Stadium, the Red Sox and Yankees meet for their second series of 2016. The first was all Boston as the Sox swept New York at Fenway Park and will try to add to the Yankees' misery in Game 1 tonight. The Red Sox hold first place in the AL East by half a game over Baltimore. The Yankees sit in the basement, 7 games out heading into tonight. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Bronx. Great to see you. I'm Dave O'Brien, my partner Steve Lyons, and it's been raining most of the day here in New York City today, but the Red Sox are very eager to play for a lot of reasons, not the least of which is the man on the mound tonight, Steve. Rick Porcello has been terrific.
He has been outstanding, and he's coming off of back-to-back scoreless outings. In fact, one of those outings was against this very same Yankees team where he went 7 innings and dominated the lineup, and he did it with an array of pitches. We know he's got that four-seam fastball that he can climb the ladder with and get strikeouts. Then you go back to the sinker. Not only away, but inside the lefties. Throw the cutter right there. Come back with that Yahoo fastball. It's an unhittable pitch, and he's been on fire lately. In fact, if he wins tonight, he'll only be the 7th Red Sox pitcher in the last 100 years to win his first 6 starts.
Off to a great start. Now, as mentioned, some wet weather in the area, in the New York area, but we are going to play baseball tonight regardless. It'll be a chilly one, but the Red Sox opening up a 3-game series against their rivals, the New York Yankees, when we come back on NESN. By BuyAToyota.com, Toyota's website for deals. Dunkin' Donuts, America runs on Dunkin'. By Subaru Retailers of New England, supplying award-winning all-wheel drive vehicles throughout New England. By Southern New Hampshire University, see yourself succeed at snhu.edu. By the 2017 Kia Sportage, visit anykiadealers.com to learn more. By Digital Federal Credit Union, see what DCU can save you. Your New England Ford dealers, Ford, go further. And by Southwest Airlines, transparency, low fares, and nothing to hide. Well, it's a cold night and a bit on the rainy side, but we are set for the first pitch just moments away. Red Sox taking on the Yankees in game 1 of 3. And this greater coverage of baseball is brought to you by T-Mobile. We take a look at how the Red Sox and the Yankees rank in the American League in runs scored. And what a separation this is. The Red Sox with 147 runs, number 1. And number 15, the Yankees, with just 89. And Steve, they lost last night 1-0, and they had only 4 hits.
Yeah, I mean, this is a team that's absolutely scuffling. I mean, you could go up and down the list of offensive categories and see where they rank. I mean, average, they're 14th, on base percentage 13th, slugging percentage last, home runs tied for 13th. Can you imagine a Yankee team in this stadium tied for 13th in the American League in home runs?
Time for a look at the starting lineup now. The Red Sox, brought to you by BuyAToyota.com, Toyota's website for deals. Mookie Betts will lead it off. Dustin Pedroia is next. Then Xander Bogaerts and David Ortiz. Hanley Ramirez at first base. Travis Shaw at third. Brock Holt is back in left. Jackie Bradley in center field. Christian Vasquez catching and batting ninth. And up against Michael Pineda, the right-hander. He's 1-3 with a 6.33 ERA.
And the defense brought to you now by DraftKings. Torres at third base. Gregorius is the shortstop. Castro's over at second. Teixeira at first base. And in the outfield, looking at Gardner with a sore elbow playing left field. Old friend Mr. Ellsbury playing center field. McCann and Pineda are your battery.
Look at tonight's umpires. They're brought to you by BuyAToyota.com, Toyota certified. It'll be Ron Culpo with the balls and strikes. Chris Conroy at first base. Gabe Morales at second, and Jerry Meals is the crew chief. He is at third. We're available. This telecast can be heard in Spanish by selecting the SAP button on your TV remote. SAP presented by ToyotaCertified.com. Search for your factory-backed Toyota certified used vehicle right now. It's good to know the factory has your back. Tonight's weather brought to you by Benjamin Moore, the official paint of the Boston Red Sox. 52 degrees right now, and cloudy and dry, more importantly.
Dry is good.
Mookie Betts gets in. It is indeed as Pineda delivers. And a fastball inside for ball 1. A very, very small crowd on hand for the start of this one.
I can't remember a Friday night game in the Bronx with this few people here.
Yankees are in last place, and the weather isn't good. High fly ball into center field. Ellsbury now coming in on it. Had a little bit of trouble seeing that, and now makes the play. Boy, he had a long way to come in to catch that.
Went way back, lost it. We talk about the little bit of the twilight this time of night, a little tough to see. Really gray sky, but look at Ellsbury going back probably 6-7 steps, and now here he comes. He's really got to get on his horse, come back and make the play.
And wind also kicking up. Could be a factor in this one. One away for Dustin Pedroia. 3 for 5 with a home run last night in Chicago. Red Sox coming in with a record of 17-11. Having just taken 2 out of 3 from the Chicago White Sox. 0-2 on Pedroia.
On a hanging slider right there from Pineda. This is the problem that he's had. He loves to throw his slider, but he has not been very effective using it. And that ball hung right in the eyes of Pedroia, and he missed it.
He hasn't missed much. 39 hits to lead the American League. Now it knocks him down. High and tight. 94.
It's just a great shot right there of the concentration of Pedroia and then getting out of the way.
Bogaerts will be next. 1 man out. Check the swing. First base umpire Conroy agrees. I'm amazed at the major leaguer's ability to get out of the way of a high, tight fastball.
Well, you know, most hitters will tell you that they think their head is the easiest thing to get out of the way. And if you get hit up around the head area or upper shoulders, it's usually because you lose track of the flight of the baseball. You see that thing coming, you're getting your head out of the way.
2-2. Fly ball into left field, very shallow. Racing out, Gregorius coming on Gardner, and he'll make the play. 2 down.
See the wind blowing in from left field, as you mentioned on the earlier fly ball with Betts. Everything's going to hold up.
Here comes Xander now, hitting .309 with a homer and 13 runs batted in. He was 0 for 4 last night in Chicago, but that snapped a 13-game on-base streak. He has been swinging a very good bat. He takes a strike. Red Sox got to their team hotel in Midtown Manhattan about 5:30 this morning. They've had a slew of those all-nighters, and are about to have another one with Sunday Night Baseball coming up.
Good thing it's a short flight, but it still doesn't matter. You still figure they're going to get home after 3 a.m. probably.
Pineda's 6'7", about 260 pounds. Delivers the 1-1 and a bit low. Red Sox with Rick Porcello on the mound tonight. He has been so good at 5-0 with a 2.76 ERA. He had an amazing performance against the Yankees last September. He struck out 13. There's a shot line, fair down into the corner. Once again, Xander Bogaerts going the other way. Karam's the short wall. Hicks up and gunning, but he won't get him. And Xander's in with a double. Just served that one into right field.
What else is new? Another double for Bogaerts in a classic inside-out swing. There's been so many comparisons made to he and his idol, Derek Jeter. Look at the concentration of that head straight down the barrel of the bat. Lets the ball get into the zone and then smashes it out of there. Now that's just pretty hit.
11 doubles already for Xander. It was at the end of June last year when he had that many doubles. And brings up David Ortiz. 319, 6 homers, 23 runs batted in. That, by the way, is the most RBIs that Ortiz has had on this date, the 6th of May, since 2007.
Notoriously slow starter, but not this year. In some of the worst weather the Red Sox have seen in an early April over the years.
Looking to pick up RBI number 24 right here against Pineda. A strike. David's next home run will tie him with Carl Yastrzemski for second on the all-time Red Sox home run list at 452. And the 0-1 from Pineda. Fouled away.
The Red Sox are the best two-strike hitting team in baseball. 115 hits, an average of 220, which doesn't sound that great, but once you get to 2 strikes, there aren't too many good hitters out there. 606 OPS.
Well, there goes Bogaerts. No one is at third base.
Wow.
So he reaches standing up. Pineda forgot all about him. And there's nobody there anyway because of the shift on. So a stolen base for Xander. I should say so, a stolen base.
That's crazy right there. I mean, in Major League Baseball, do you just let guys take third?
Now look at the lead he can get. Here's the 0-2. Little dribbler, but a foul ball.
Do you sacrifice an automatic base? I mean, obviously what they're figuring is that you have to play deep as an outfield with Big Papi up there. And any base hit into the outfield, Bogaerts will probably score anyway. But do you just give it to him?
I mean, he can come all the way down that line.
Yeah, a little ball that kicks away, something that's in the dirt maybe, kicks away from a can, and he could score.
2 down, just getting underway here in the first inning in the Bronx. the 0-2 to Ortiz. 1-2. Red Sox forced Pineda out of last Saturday's game at Fenway after just 5 innings in a game the Red Sox would win going away 8-0 behind Rick Porcello. A little bit of a light rain here. Here comes the 1-2. There's a shot driven out to right, carrying back. It is gone. David Ortiz with number 7 and number 452 with the Red Sox. He has tied the great Carl Yastrzemski. What a start for Big Papi. Number 510 in his career.
I believe that was another hanging slider, the slider that Pedroia missed. David Ortiz did not. We'll see it again. That ball just an absolute laser beam out of here to right field. Look at that. It's just a cement mixer slider. It's not doing a darn thing but spinning. No break to it, and it's walloped. Knocked over a guy in the stands.
Dead even with Yaz now. 452 as a member of the Boston Red Sox, and he does it here at Yankee Stadium.
The only place he'd rather do it than in Fenway would be right here.
The Speedway is proud to be New England's first choice for value and convenience, and for every Red Sox homer this season, Speedway donates $500 to Boston Children's Hospital. Stop by a Speedway store near you and pick up your Speedy Rewards card and start earning points today. 25 RBIs and 7 home runs, and that one smacked into left field for a base hit. Hanley Ramirez has now hit safely in 10 consecutive games.
The way Hanley Ramirez swings the bat, we love to see him go the other way, but when he pulls the ball, there is so much wicked topspin on the ball when it comes off of his bat. It gets through the infield so much quicker than many major league hitters hit.
Big Papi and Yaz in the same breath. And the next one will make David number 2 all time in Red Sox history behind only Ted Williams.
You know, and David, you've been around Big Papi when he talks about that kind of stuff, and when people compare him to guys like Yaz and Ted Williams, he gets embarrassed almost. I mean, certainly he knows his place in history, but he's like awed by that conversation.
I am too. I mean, put me on that list.
Yeah, but the funny thing is your name isn't on that list. His is, and he's like, oh, I don't know. I can't talk about that stuff.
He really is. He's very humble about it, but he's right there. There's Travis Shaw, runner going, and swung on and popped down the third base line. Torres with a long run, but it's off into the stands.
Hanley off and running.
Red Sox in front 2-0 in their favorite inning. Red Sox have now scored 33 runs in the first inning. That's the most in the American League. Last year they scored the 4th fewest in the first inning. One of many differences.
Yeah. Changes the complexion of the game when you can get off to a lead first.
0-2 to Travis is in tight at the hands. And getting kind of misty here. Well, this started with 2 down. Xander Bogaerts got it going with a double. David Ortiz walloping a 2-run homer. Hanley Ramirez with a sharp single. And now 2-2 on Travis Shaw, who was the 6th man to hit in the first inning.
Talked to Hanley Ramirez about that opposite field home run he hit the other night. You know he's having fun when he's joking about things. He said, yeah, I guessed right. Or he guessed wrong.
2-2 line shot. That's a base hit. Hanley up and into second. That is 4 consecutive Red Sox hits here in the first inning.
Well, Kind of the same pitch right there again. That may be his cutter, but if he's trying to throw a slider right there, it's not doing a darn thing.
So 2 aboard with 2 down and 2 runs in for Brock Holt, who's hit safely in 4 in a row. Those Sox look wide awake despite coming in just in front of the sunrise here in Gotham. Brock hitting .280 with 2 home runs. And the Red Sox trying to add on against Pineda. Low for ball 1. Brock was 2 for 4 last night in Chicago after sitting out games 1 and 2 because of the lefty starters for the White Sox. And he delivered another RBI. On the corner, according to Ron Culpa.
You just can't take a deep breath in this lineup. You get through the first 5 if you're lucky. And then you say, all right, back half of the lineup. But then you face Shaw, Holt, Bradley. Come on.
Ramirez at second, Shaw at first base with 2 down. Another fastball. I think that plate may open up a little bit given the weather. In fact, it is. Just a little wider.
Doesn't look like either one of those pitches were within the zone, but Brock Holt doesn't say a word. He knows he's going to get another one to swing at.
Pineda with a 1-2 and knocked foul out of play to the left.
You know, it looks to us like it's kind of just a heavy mist out there, but when you look at Pineda's hat, the bill of his cap, and the water just running off the bill of his cap, look at that.
Here's the 1-2 again to Brock Holt. Cut on and missed at 94. The inning is over, but David Ortiz strikes again. Just remarkable in his 50th regular season home run against the New York Yankees. Two to nothing. Here's the Yankee lineup. It's brought to you by your New England Chevy dealers. Jacoby Ellsbury leads it off. Then it's Brett Gardner, Mark Teixeira, Brian McCann and Carlos Beltran. Starlin Castro is at second base. Aaron Hicks in right field. Gregorius at shortstop. And Torres is the third baseman, and he is batting out of the 9 spot. And Rick Porcello given an early lead here. And the first pitch is downstairs for ball 1. Red Sox starting pitcher presented by your New England Audi dealers. He is 5-0. And continuing the best start of his career. He beat the Yankees at Fenway last Saturday 8-0.
Jacoby Ellsbury, one of the guys in this Yankee lineup that's actually swinging the bat fairly well.
And he has in his career against Porcello. He's 12 for 28 with 4 home runs.
And against the Red Sox. But I don't know that 260 with 1 home run and 9 RBIs is what they were hoping to get.
I'd say not. He will take this one outside for ball 4. Of course, he can still run with 7 stolen bases.
And now the Red Sox defense brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Shaw at third. Bogarts set shortstop. Pedroia and Ramirez round out your infield. In the outfield, Holt, Bradley Jr. and Betts. And Porcello pitching to Vasquez.
Here's Brett Gardner, 247 with 2 home runs. A lot of low batting averages for this Yankee team. They lost 1-0 in Baltimore last night in 10 innings. Their 7th loss in 8 games. And they managed just 4 hits.
This is a team that's making a lot of mistakes that cost them ball games. Castro was picked off of second base late in the ball game. At a time where they had an opportunity to win.
Joe Girardi's team in last place, 9-17 their record. Yankees have put up 23 consecutive winning seasons. The last losing season way back in 1992. That's in jeopardy this year, the way they're starting out anyway. Still terribly early. But they are 7 games out behind the Red Sox. Cut on and missed, and Gardner took a big hack, and he goes down swinging.
Well, this is the pitch we talk about with Porcello, who's used it very effectively up in the strike zone when he needs to strike out. A lot of people think that he's going to sink the ball, and then he rushes it up there right past you. You can't catch up with it.
That'll send up Mark Teixeira, batting just .225 with 3 home runs. Runner at first base, 1 down. Red Sox ahead 2-0. And a strike.
Boy, it's good to see the movement on that sinker again out of him. A tailing sink. That ball he just threw right down the middle and let it run to the outer half of the plate.
It's like right after spring training, that light went on for him.
Yeah. He was working on stuff in spring training.
Runner goes, and it's dropped by Vasquez. Nobody at third base. Now Bogarts has to get over there. So Jacoby Ellsbury will steal second base. That's number 8 for him.
It's a tough transfer for Vasquez here. It's a big curveball and just kind of didn't get the grip on it. Ball kind of slipped out of Porcello's hands and slipped out of Vasquez's hands. Maybe they should get a different ball.
We may go through some tonight with this weather. Now the overshift on. That's way outside on Teixeira, who has a devil of a time against Porcello. Just 4 for 23. And the 2-1. Popped him up, foul back out of play.
Now, Dave, you look at his overall numbers too, and it's hard to believe this far into the season, more than a sixth of the way into the year, and you look at those numbers: 225, 3 and 11. Ooh, not for the guy that's supposed to be producing your runs.
He was 0 for 3 and struck out twice facing Rick Porcello last weekend. Porcello trying to make him sit down again. The 2-2. And he does. Well, he just blew him away.
2 in a row. Pretty much the same thing for Gardner and then Tex. You just run that just above the belt buckle. It looks really good for a lefty to try to go after, but it's really hard to stay on top of. And you can see how Teixeira just dipped right under it.
So 2 down for Brian McCann. 267, 3 homers, 10 runs batted in. Porcello in every start this season has gone at least 6 innings. He's allowed only 24 hits in 32 2/3 innings. And of course, he always stays away from walks. He's only walked 6 men, so really not many base runners against him.
Well, the way the game has changed, that's what you're looking for out of your starting pitcher. 6 solid. The way the bullpens are now constructed, you're looking for 7, 8, 9 guys that can come in and shut the game down. Get through 6.
Here goes Ellsbury, and it's right through Vasquez to the backstop. He takes a big turn. He goes back to third. And Porcello quickly covered home plate in any event.
Vasquez early on having trouble with some of the movement on the pitches here. 2 balls he's mishandled. Look at.
Ooh, that's a cross up.
Yeah.
Big time.
He's not looking for that ball to break. He was looking for it to tail. It looked like he got a cutter or a slider when he's looking for a sinking fastball.
It was actually a strike. It was a called strike by Ron Culpa. That was big time cross up to make it 1 ball, 1 strike. Two balls, 1 strike, runner at third base.
Red Sox don't shift that often. They do for McCann.
Pop up, Luke Fowl back off into the crowd.
Red Sox actually shift fewer times than any team in baseball. And you got to think that other teams shift more against the Red Sox than any team in baseball.
Ellsbury at third after a walk and 2 stolen bases. He was running on that pitch that got through Vasquez. And the 2-2. Line shot. Fair ball just on top of the chalk and down the line. That'll rattle into the corner. That'll bring in Jacoby Ellsbury. And McCann has his 11th RBI, now 2-1. As he hits a rocket down the line.
McCann able to get the bat head on this. This is a pitch that you like to get a lefty to try to give up on. You want him to think that it's too far inside, and then it comes back and gets the corner, but McCann was looking for it. He knows that's one of the weapons that Porcello will use.
Just the 3rd double of the season for McCann. Gets the inning to the DH, Carlos Beltran. Alex Rodriguez is mentioned on the disabled list. Ball 1 on Beltran.
With A-Rod on the DL, that allows the Yankees to use Beltran as the DH. They put Aaron Hicks out in right field, who's a good outfielder.
In for a called strike. Beltran 9 for 22 against Rick Porcello. Not very good lately. Look at the slump he's in 13 games. Hit up 170 and no homers.
Goes through slumps like that, but still, even at an advanced age, he can turn it around and get hot quick.
He's now 39 years old. The tying run at second for the Yankees. Porcello does have 2 strikeouts in the inning. And there's number 3. He smoked him with a high fastball. The Yankees get on the scoreboard on an RBI double from Brian McCann. It is 2-1 Boston after 1. Sox on top 2-1, and Jacoby Ellsbury has left the ball game. And the Yankees are making a couple of changes here. Ackley will take over out in right field, and that'll move Hicks from right to center field. And Ellsbury is done for the night. He walked, he stole a couple of bases and scored a run, but out he comes.
Well, you look at him as he was going into third base. Well, a little funny little step. It's a little bit wet out there, and then watch him kind of grab that right hip. A little grimace headed back to third. Eventually scored.
Jackie Bradley takes a strike to begin the second inning here. It's actually very good news the way he hits Rick Porcello. Good news for the Red Sox. Jackie has been cooking with the bat. He ran his hitting streak to 11 in a row last night, belting a solo home run to left in the 6th inning. He'll be followed by Christian Vazquez and then Mookie Betts. Jackie hitting .277 with 2 homers. Looking very comfortable at the plate. And lately really has against the Yankees. His last 11 games against the Yankees, he's hitting .441 with an on-base percentage of .548. He has zeroed in on the Yankees, but not this time. That's in there for strike 3. Jackie didn't think so. A strikeout for Pineda.
This is a pretty good pitch, I think, right on the inner half. It just stays true right there. Jackie thought it was in. Probably got to hack at that one with 2 strikes.
1 man away for Christian Vazquez. There's another in the Red Sox lineup with a hitting streak. He's hit safely in 7 in a row. Sox up 2-1 here in the second. The 0-1 from Pineda. He has a big fastball, a cutter, slider, changeup, which he calls his best pitch.
Certainly isn't his slider tonight. I know that.
The 1-1.
We remember the huge home run almost a week ago against Betances. That thing is still going.
Certainly his finest moment offensively. Bounding ball here to Gregorius, and Cincinnati to get him. 2 down. Have you downloaded the Red Sox season schedule into your favorite desktop, web, or mobile device? Make sure you visit NESN.com/schedule to download today. Two down in the top of the order now. Mookie Betts, who fly to center to begin the ball game. Red Sox again scoring in the very first inning.
Mookie has taken Pineda deep twice in his career, both last year. And the splits on his home runs are amazing. When you look at Pineda, he's given up 27 home runs at home and 7 on the road in his career.
Another generous call there from Ron Culpa. Hey, you do what you can.
Any way you can do it. I think Eck would say that's some pretty good looking moss.
2 balls, 1 strike. Mookie kind of likes to hit in this ballpark. .313 in his career. Two down, bases empty, and a 2-1.
The first pitch that got called a strike on Mookie, he didn't agree with that. When you're a Mookie Betts, you know the inner half of that plate. That's what you like. If you're not swinging at it in there, you're pretty sure it's not a strike.
3-1, and he walks him. So the Red Sox have a base runner with 2 down. That's how the rally started in the first inning. 2 fast outs, and then Xander Bogaerts doubled. David Ortiz ripped a home run, a 2-run shot, his 7th of the season. Red Sox had 4 hits in that first inning, all with 2 out against Pineda. Dustin Pedroia for the second time, 0 for 1 with a fly to left. Now, his home run in Chicago last night went to left field, but Pedroia has had 44% of his hits this season go to right field.
Using the entire field. That's when you know his hands feel good. You look at some of his numbers, and it's certainly early, but when you look at the 08 MVP season, the average, the OPS, a lot of those numbers are eerily the same so far headed into this season as they were in the MVP year.
He takes a strike at 93. Back to his home run cut from last night.
Yeah, you talk about home runs from last night, we show it to you. We know he loves the ball up and in. That ball was down and in, and he still hammered it.
The Red Sox would hit 3 in the victory over the White Sox. The 0-1. Foul back out of play.
Trying to go the other way right there, too.
Red Sox 3-game sweep of the Yankees last weekend was the 3rd home sweep of the Yankees before the 1st of June in 30 years. That really staggered Joe Girardi's team. They have continued to lose. Here comes the 0-2.
Remember a couple seasons ago where every series was almost a sweep. Every time.
Right.
There was only one series that wasn't a sweep between these two teams. That's hard to do.
One and 2 on Pedroia.
Go ahead, Mookie.
There he goes. The pitch low. The throw skips, and he's safe. Mookie Betts with a theft of second base.
Good jump. He gets great jumps down there first. Look at the glove right on the ground, waiting to receive the ball. But you got to short hop it, so you got to come up to get it. And Mookie sneaks in there. Boy, that's some great camera work right there.
His 7th stolen base.
Pretty good illustration of the correct way to try to short hop a ball like that. It's not easy for an infielder because then you always have to bring the glove back down to make the tag. But start with your glove on the ground and come up with the bounce.
2-2 on Pedroia. Now to pick up this RBI, which would be his 15th. Sunday at 6, don't miss the Ultimate Red Sox show presented by AAA. A look back at Big Papi's farewell celebration in Chicago. You'll hear from President of Baseball Ops Dave Dombrowski. That and more coming up Sunday night at 6 on NESN.
You notice a difference in the quickness of Pedroia at the plate?
No doubt.
Oh.
Over last year. It's got to be confidence in those hands. Just a bit outside, said Culpa.
Sometimes it's hard to judge with him because he has a big swing. I mean, he swings the bat like a 7-year-old playing wiffle ball in the backyard. He always has. It's a big hack, but it's a quick big hack. Last year he had to cheat to get to balls. This year he can wait. His confidence that he's strong enough to go the other way.
Looks like he is struggling to see a little bit. With that rain kind of spitting in his face. Here comes the 3-2. Bounding ball to the shortstop, Gregorius, and gets it. So the Red Sox get a man out at second base, but cannot bring him in. Red Sox still in front here, 2-1, Yankee Stadium. The Yankees on a chilly and rainy night. These cold hard facts are brought to you by Clean Crisp Coors Light. Rick Porcello has pitched at least 6 innings in his last 13 starts. That is the longest active streak for that accomplishment in Major League Baseball.
It's good numbers. He's given this team a chance to win every time he goes out there, and coincidentally he's gotten the win.
Castro will lead things off here, hitting .293 with 3 home runs. He was a very difficult out at Fenway last weekend. And he does have an 8-game hitting streak against the Red Sox, during which he is 14 for 30. That goes back to his Cubs days.
Girardi has been saying that he's been his most consistent player so far this season, but you kind of flip a coin trying to find one of those guys. There haven't been a lot of consistent players on this Yankee team.
Yankees have scored 2 runs or less 6 times in their last 8 games. The 1-1 toward the middle of ground ball. Bogart snags it, has to throw on balance, close but safe. And Castro is on board again.
Castro runs really well. This is a ball hit up the middle, and Bogey has to throw this ball on the other foot because of a funny little hop. So you have to backtrack to get that ball, and he had to throw off the wrong foot so he could get it there quick enough. He doesn't have time to set his feet here and let it go, and you have to throw that right now. Castro down the line, barely beats it out.
So the leadoff man is on for Aaron Hicks, who has moved over to center field after Jacoby Ellsbury came out of the game.
Not a lot of playing time for Hicks, but not a lot of good numbers. They do like his tools, though.
And 3 for 33.
Yeah. This guy's got a great arm in the outfield. He could run.
He bunts, dropping it down. Porcello fires and got him. What a nice play he made there. Down to second base, however, is Castro. We get rid of that.
Well, something to notice on this play. Right after Porcello throws the ball, he reaches back and wipes his hands on his pant legs. That's how much water was on that ball. This is an extremely difficult throw to make like that with a wet ball. Watch him let the ball go, and then watch where he reaches back and says, oh, my fingers are all wet. I better wipe those off. You know he's going to get a different baseball to pitch with now.
So here's Gregorius hitting .215, 2 homers, 6 runs batted in. He dances a bit, ball 1. Red Sox today did option the left-hander Henry Owens back to AAA, promoting the right-hander Sean O'Sullivan, 28-year-old starter from the Paw Sox. Owens with a lot of trouble throwing strikes. That one rocketed down the right field line, and a foul ball. Just off the line by Gregorius. Henry Owens with 13 walks in 12 1/3 innings.
Wow. Just could not throw the ball over the plate, and there was a difference in his start. It looked to us in one of his first starts that he looked afraid to throw the ball over the plate. Last night it looked like he couldn't throw it over the plate.
He wasn't alone. There were 16 walks in that game.
Yeah.
It was not a work of art. But the Red Sox won it, and they won the series. Castro at second base. Torreyes on deck.
Sean O'Sullivan is out of the bullpen tonight. He's available to pitch, but if he doesn't, he may be ready to throw 1 inning tomorrow night, and then could be in line to be the starter on Tuesday. He is one of those. He is one of the guys that could be the option. If he throws tonight, though, he becomes not so much an option. If he did have to throw tomorrow, that would be his normal side day to pitch anyway, and then he'd fall right in line to pitch on Tuesday if they decide to use him that way.
Red Sox 2, Yankees 1. We're in the second inning. 1 away and a 1-2. Pretty tough at bat here by Gregorius, who scuffled in their just completed road trip to Texas and Boston and Baltimore. He went 3 for 23.
I think those three might have been discussing changing the sequence of their signs. Every pitch that they threw up there, Gregorius was all over. You always think about the possibility of the runner on second base relaying the signs to the hitter.
Porcello looking for his 4th strikeout. Slap foul instead. It is interesting to note he had that 13 strikeout game against the Yankees last September 1st at Fenway. And tonight it's the same home plate umpire who worked that one, Ron Culpa. Probably brought a bit of a grin from Rick Porcello when he saw the umpire rotation. Breaking ball in the dirt, knocked away, no advance by the runner.
Where in your notes do you find that? The same umpire?
Same umpire.
Come on.
You know that Porcello knew that.
Doing extensive research. You landed at 5:30 in the morning and started doing research.
That's the first thing I look for, yeah. I've got problems. 2-2, 1 out.
I think so far tonight, Porcello's changeup has been his least effective pitch, but I think it's a good time for it right here.
Foul tipped out of the mitt. It is a foul ball. A Tuesday is David Price bobblehead night at Fenway. The first 15,000 fans in attendance receive a David Price bobblehead courtesy of Nikon. For tickets and more information, visit redsox.com/promos or call 877-RED-SOX-9.
Many times with a left-handed hitter up there and a right-handed pitcher, you start getting the lefties to think hard stuff, and then your changeup becomes your most effective pitch to that hitter.
Castro at second. Out in front of the plate, fair ball. Vasquez took a look, now throws to first and gets him, and diving back to second was Castro. So that'll be out number 2.
It shows so much calmness out of Vasquez when you can have a play like this and go pick the ball up, take your time and look at the guy at second. Castro has to go diving back there because he knows Vasquez got a huge arm. Once he realizes that he's held him, just throw the guy out at first base.
Torres hitting .346, no homers, 2 runs batted in, 23-year-old from Venezuela. Primarily he's been a shortstop and a second baseman, but they're playing him at third base now. And that's a cross for strike 1.
This guy has bounced around a little bit, different organizations. He was with the Dodgers.
Porcello trying to maintain his 2-1 lead. Coming up in the third inning, it's Bogarts, Ortiz, and Hanley Ramirez. If you missed it, if you're joining us right now, David Ortiz has already homered in this game.
And that's why he's laughing.
To tie Carl Yastrzemski on the Red Sox home run list for second place. That is all David is doing these days in his final year, by the way. He's laughing and smiling and taking everything in, enjoying every moment.
He's not feeling a lot of pressure, is he?
Oh, sir. 1-1 down and in.
Well, David spent a good majority of his career laughing. Yeah, what did you say the other night? Jimmy Rollins says, you know, David, everybody loves you except the pitchers.
Except the pitchers. He's got the bench crying here. 2-1. This is a loose Red Sox team. We're seeing this everywhere the Red Sox go, home and road, really enjoying each other's company. It's becoming a tight-knit team. Winning has a way of doing that. Three balls and 1 strike on the number 9 hitter. Made a tough pitch there to make it 3-2.
See, that ball just cut right off the plate. You're thinking you got to swing at it because you think it's going to stay on the plate, and then just that late movement. That's what a good cutter will get you.
And he's up and in for ball 4, so he walks him. It's a bit of a rarity here for Rick Porcello to have walked 2 men already.
Torres is a tough target. They say that he's maybe 5'7" on his best day standing in cleats.
Follow Red Sox baseball live with the MLB.com at Bat app. Stay up to the moment with Game Day, live game video and more. Download MLB.com at Bat, the #1 app for live baseball on your smartphone and tablet today. So here's Dustin Ackley batting for the first time since taking over in the leadoff spot for Jacoby Ellsbury. We have not had an update on Ellsbury, why he came out of the ball game, but he did grimace after the second of his 2 stolen bases when he stole third. He eventually scored their only run. Runners at first and second, though. Ackley just 2 for 21.
Has never really lived up to the ridiculous hype around him for being the #1 overall selection of the Seattle Mariners.
He was a great college player at North Carolina, hitting .412. They went to 3 consecutive College World Series when he was there. Line shot, base hit to center field. Here comes the run trying to score, and the throw is into second base. Now on to third. The tag, he's out there, and the run scores. The run does come on in to score just in time to tie the ball game. Red Sox cut down a man at third base, and that does retire the side. But the Yankees get the second run, and they have knotted it up 2-2 after 2.
Bradley gets an assist for that.
Is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Transparency, low fares, and nothing to hide. Well, the Yankees have tied it up as Castro scored on that play. As the runner was cut down at third base to retire the side, the play went 8-4-5. But it did produce an RBI, and here's Xander Bogaerts to lead off the third, taking a strike.
Bradley will actually get an assist for this play as well on this throw. Base hit up the middle here. Bradley has to stop, takes a funny hop. I don't think he gets the ball out of his glove that well. Watch the heads-up play by Pedroia. That ball comes into Petey at second. He realizes the runner's going to continue on to third. Just makes a great throw to nail him.
Xander has a double and a run. He also stole a bag in the first inning. They're tied up 2-2. 1 ball and 2 strikes. David Ortiz on deck. He'll be looking for his second home run of the ball game. Like he checked his swing on a pitch down low.
He didn't go.
Chris Conroy agrees at first base.
Nope. Xander looked a little more aggressive in this at bat in terms of trying to pull the ball. Just sit back and go with your game plan. Hit the ball the other way.
Pineda's 2-2 and a high pop to center. And Hicks creeps in to make the play. So one man is out for Big Papi. And you know, after a stone cold spring, David came out guns blazing on opening day. At 40, he looks more like 27. He's been the leading man in the Red Sox, topping the American League in hitting, but he did something very different for him in the offseason. Hitting coach Chili Davis asked David, when last season ended, not to pick up a bat over the winter. He said, do me a favor, don't touch a bat. Don't go and hit for 30 minutes 3 or 4 days a week. Use that time for other things, fitness stuff. Do anything at all. You're not going to forget how to hit. Come to spring training fresh. And he said, when you have your first hitting valley in Florida, you'll get locked in right at the end. You're going to feel great going into opening day mentally and physically. And that's exactly what happened.
And he said that would happen. When the lights come on, Big Papi comes on.
The 1-1 down low. Chili Davis also prepared like that for seasons late in his career, and he said it made all the difference. He'll show up a little bit later in spring training. Don't hit practically at all during the winter. Don't pick up a bat. And David bought in. Remember, he hit a couple of home runs right at the end of spring training?
Yep.
That's what got him locked in. A high fly ball into center field, but this one catchable. And Hicks is there for the second out. So Ortiz 1 for 2, and here comes Hanley Ramirez.
When you think about one of the main reasons why David is retiring is because it takes so much more effort to get in shape to play now. And I think that's what Chili was saying. Use that effort to make sure you're in top shape. You'll always be able to hit.
Hanley is 1 for 1. He ran his hitting streak to 10 consecutive games with a base hit first inning. DraftKings is the official one-day fantasy baseball partner of the Red Sox. Experience the thrill of playing on DraftKings right now. Play free daily using the promo code NESSON at DraftKings.com. 2-0. .342 during the streak with 9 RBIs. He homered twice in Chicago. Could be a long hot streak getting underway here for Hanley. Fouled back to the net.
That's a dangerous pitch the way he's swinging the bat now. He's been happy to drive long line drives to the opposite field. Try to throw him an outer half fastball. He's all over it.
Our friend Alex Spear will join us in the next half inning. The 2-1. Little looper toward right. Ackley on the move and will track that one down shy of the warning track as the Red Sox go 1-2-3. Alex Spear with us here in the booth when we come back to Yankees. Farrell. Whatever, whenever, wherever. Who but W.B. Mason? And who but Alex Spear, the Boston Globe, joining us in the booth because it's warm, relatively, and dry.
It's survivable.
Great to have you with us.
Great to be here. Thanks, guys.
Brett Gardner will lead off here in the bottom of the third. We're tied up 2-2. And David Ortiz has struck again. He has tied Carl Yastrzemski on the home run list for the Red Sox.
It's extraordinary what he's doing this year. I mean, the career arc obviously is amazing. That's why every time he hits one of these things, his name gets pushed up against or past someone else who's another historic figure. But what he's doing as a 40-year-old, it's not what he's doing as a 40-year-old, it's what he's doing relative to the rest of the league. David Ortiz has hit more balls, according to one website, at 100 miles an hour or greater than anyone else in baseball this year.
Wow.
So he's making more hard contact on a more consistent basis than any other player. That's ahead of Miguel Cabrera, ahead of Giancarlo Stanton, who usually owns that stat. This is someone who at 40 is performing at a peak level that, you know, he is still the thunder in the middle of the order. This isn't just a ceremonial retirement tour.
Nobody wants him to go away.
Except maybe his family.
And I think the Yankees. Here's the 2-1. And in there for a called strike to Brett Gardner, who struck out in the first inning. It is incredible because there are guys half his age who are not delivering like this with the kind of, as you say, the velocity off the bat. That's really striking.
Yeah, he's just smoking the ball seemingly with everything that he's doing. He's just at one of those places where he's kind of able to apply his kind of Yoda mind tricks, you know, to mastering opposing pitchers.
That one golfed into right field and down into the corner up against the fence. Gardner, of course, with excellent speed, he is easily into second base with a stand-up double. I think it's pretty obvious here early in the game. It's not the same Rick Porcello we saw the last time out, or several times this season.
Well, there you go. You know, that's that pitch that he tries to get farther inside and just come back and nip the corner. He's had trouble controlling that, commanding it where he wants to throw it. A couple of them got hit pretty hard.
And you have a pretty good indicator already with the fact that he's issued a couple of walks in the first couple of innings. This is someone who hadn't given up more than 2 walks in any of his outings to this point this year. It's tough to get a good feel for the baseball on a night like tonight, but he's seen more pitches leaking either back over the plate or just off the plate than we've seen in other starts this year.
Yeah, and we can talk about the Yankees until we're blue in the face about how bad they are this year, but it's a 2-2 game right now.
Fouled away, a soft roller by Teixeira, who struck out in the first inning. And the Red Sox making a move today as well. Alex, is Henry Owens is back to the minor leagues.
And John Farrell said, look, this is someone who needs to go back there to work on his fastball command. Right now, it's, you know, there's basically one pitcher you can think of in the last few decades who's been successful pitching without benefit of a fastball that he can command and pitching basically off of his changeup, and that's Jamie Moyer. And Jamie Moyer could actually command his fastball. He just didn't throw very hard. Owens's problems throwing the fastball become so extreme that he's been throwing, you know, maybe 3 to 4 changeups for every fastball. And that's not who they want him to be. That's not who he's been at times in his minor league trajectory. The thing that's surprising to me is not just that he's been missing the plate, because that's happened at other times in his minor league career. His velocity has also been down. It's been in the kind of 86, 88 range, sometimes 88, 89. When he's been right in the minor leagues, he's been 88 to 92, and sometimes bumping 93, 94, even an occasional 95. And that just suggests someone whose mechanics aren't there right now.
2-1, just missing according to Culpa. Now goes to 3-1.
And so he needs to get back down. He's gone through this before. If you look at the start of every one of his recent minor league seasons, he has always had a hard time commanding the strike zone, or at least even controlling the strike zone with his fastball in the initial maybe month to 2 of the season. So they need to get him on a roll if he's going to be part of the big league starting depth equation.
Alex, do you think it's harder for him?
High flying to left field near the line. Brock Holt moving quickly to his right. He'll make the catch. Gardner will not tag up as the throw comes in.
I think it's harder for him to work on fastball command when he can go down to the minor leagues and get minor league hitters to swing at pitches that are out of the strike zone.
It's a great question, because you can expand, you can get guys to chase in a way in AAA that you just can't in the major leagues. The umpires are sometimes prone to greater expansion and less consistency of the zone down there than they are in the big leagues. So it's a pretty tricky thing to be able to develop, but he has shown in recent years the ability to take those starts, those initial starts of the season in which he's just walking guy after guy, and to get back into the strike zone.
Boy, that one almost got away. First pitch high and wide on McCann, who has doubled in a run tonight.
It narrowly averted what would have been a very costly balk, which would have put Gardner on third base with just one out. But in getting back to your question, Owens has shown the ability to improve with his fastball over the course of the season in the minors before. So he has to do it again. He just has to get to that point where he's strong enough in the season that his mechanics get repetitive and allow him to control the strike zone consistently.
Down in the dirt. Nice block there by Vasquez. So O'Sullivan is up. We've been talking about him a little bit tonight. He's actually available in the bullpen if needed this evening.
He is, and he's a kind of an interesting project for the Red Sox. He's someone who has been up and down between AAA and the big leagues for the last number of years. Hasn't had a great deal of success at the big league level yet, but there is an interesting marker of what he's been doing in Pawtucket this year, which is that his strikeouts have gone up considerably. And O'Sullivan talked a little bit before the game about how part of the appeal of signing with Boston was the fact that he was going to be rejoining one of his former big league teammates, Brian Bannister, who's now the Red Sox director of pitching analysis and development. And he and Bannister have talked a lot about where to use his pitches, what quadrants of the strike zone he should be attacking with his specific mix. And O'Sullivan says he's been getting a lot more swings and misses, a lot more strikeouts down in AAA this year as a result of that conversation.
2-1. That picks up the corner.
So by most accounts, O'Sullivan had been the best of the pitchers in the Paw Sox rotation at this point. So he would very much be a consideration for that open rotation spot, that need for a start coming up next Tuesday.
And he's already here.
Indeed, and he's on the 40-man roster, which was kind of one of his barriers to getting a start a little bit earlier.
This would be a big strikeout for Porcello, who is scuffling a bit in the early innings. If he can get McCann, and now Vasquez is going to come out for a mound visit.
You can see that this is just a different animal in terms of a start, because the pace between Porcello and Vasquez, which has been so fluid in all of the previous outings, hasn't been the same rapid-fire exchange. They're working a little bit to get on the same wavelength.
There they are, and they've been crossed up tonight. On one
times.
Yeah, one pitch that went all the way to the backstop.
Porcello's most effective pitch has been the four-seam fastball up for strikeouts.
Here's the 2-2. Popped them up. Foul off third. Shaw hoping for room over there, but it's off into the stands.
Which is so interesting, because that's the pitch that he had to move away from last year, which got him away from his bread and butter sinker.
Yeah, because it didn't seem like when he was using that he had the good sinker. Now he's had both. Today he's done a good job of running that up there, but that was a missed location. He was trying to go down in the zone with that fastball, and he ran it up there. So he probably missed location there by about 3 feet.
One out, and Gardner at second base. We're tied 2-2. Into the dirt again, stopped by Vasquez, who's been really busy here in the early going. Carlos Beltran on deck as we chat with Alex Spear of the Boston Globe. Red Sox, a first place team, can gain a little more ground tonight because Baltimore has been rained out. The game against the Oakland A's has been postponed. In Camden Yards. Here's the 3-2. Swing and a miss, and that's a big K. That is out number 2.
Now this is a pitch we talked about before against the lefties. Get him thinking hard and then throw a changeup. The best weapon a right-hander has to a lefty.
And it is telling that even on a night when he doesn't have his best stuff, Porcello just does have that vast array of weapons that allows him to disrupt timing and still get a guy well out in front. Even when he's not pinpoint with his fastball, he's still able to figure things out, work in the curveball, the slider, the changeup in order to get pitches moving in different directions, different speeds.
That one ripped, but foul. Looked like Beltran was all over that one.
And to me, that's the major difference between, you know, what he did well at the end of last season and on into this season, and what we saw out of him at the beginning of last year, is that even mix of pitches, using the four-seamer to get a strikeout, sinking the ball generally, and then using that changeup and the breaking pitches and mixing them all in. He kind of wasn't using all his pitches last year.
The runner goes. Here's the throw, the tag, and he is safe. So Gardner with a theft of third base. He's the second Yankee to steal third tonight. Ellsbury did in the first inning, although he was injured.
Yeah, had that hard round of third base on the pitch that made it to the backstop, and it looked like after that he was favoring. I'm not sure if it was his hip or.
That's what we thought. Yeah.
There's obvious discomfort there, and once again, Jacoby Ellsbury is facing a question about whether or not about what his durability is going to be going forward. I think that he's averaged in his first couple years with the Yankees, he's been in 130 games per season, and it remains to be seen whether or not the arrow tips up or down.
Cut on and missed. Vicious swing by Beltran. He struck out in the first inning, and that'll count 1-2.
On balls up, and again, Beltran I think is one guy that Porcello thinks he can run the ball up on and get strikeouts with. But Beltran's a pretty smart hitter.
He's also 6 for his last 32. So Rick is seeing him at a good time. Here comes the 1-2 pitch. High pop up into left. Brock Holt again near the stands, but plenty of room, and makes the grab. Alex, great to have you in from out of the cold.
Great to see you guys. Thanks so much.
Now get back out into the cold.
No, you can stay as long as you want. Alex Spear, the Boston Globe. Moment honoring the '86 Red Sox in their 29th game of 1986. The Red Sox would beat the A's in 10. Bruce Hurst threw all 10 innings as he struck out 11, and Jim Rice reached base 4 out of 5 times. He scored twice for the Red Sox.
All 10 innings.
In for a strike on Travis Shaw, underway here in the 4th inning. We're tied up 2-2 on a misty and uncomfortable night down on the diamond. Travis has a base hit. He's 1 for 1. He was 1 for 11 in Chicago, as the Red Sox took 2 out of 3. Pineda with a 1-1 and drops it across for a strike. Pineda can be dominating. Last May, on the 10th of May against Baltimore, he struck out 16 over 7 innings. This is a swing and a miss, and down goes Shaw, 1 away in the 4th.
Shaw upset with himself that he didn't swing at the last pitch. Now he's going to get this one down in the zone. Much more difficult with 2 strikes. You have to protect, and he comes up empty.
3rd strikeout for Pineda. Brock Holt is 0 for 1 with a strikeout in the 1st inning. Tied up 2-2. ball and 1 strike. Brock Holt hitting out of the 7th spot, back in left field tonight. Red Sox and the Yankees go at it tomorrow afternoon for Game 2. And David Price will have the baseball for the Red Sox at 105. Went a little bit high for a ball. And then Sunday at 8:05, Stephen Wright. The Red Sox will be back home for a Monday game against the Oakland A's. Our first look at the Athletics. Routine ground ball to Castro. 2 down. Fans with Benjamin Moore, you can paint like no other. Go to benjaminmoore.com to find your nearest retailer. So 2 away for Jackie Bradley. Jackie 0 for 1, struck out looking his first time up. He has an 11-game hitting streak.
This Yankee team has had its share of injuries. Obviously, A-Rod on the DL. They put CC Sabathia on the DL, and now Ellsbury uncertain.
Well, he left the game, the Yankees say, because of tightness in his hip, as you suspected it was, but they are going to MRI him.
It's more than tightness.
Yeah, it just might be.
He took a funny stutter step on his way into third base, and he might have just popped something.
There's a base hit as Jackie Bradley beats the shift to make it a 12-game hitting streak. A 2-out single to get Christian Vasquez up in this inning.
Here's that play. Watch Ellsbury take a right there. You see that funny little step when he realized that the ball got away. He thought he was just going to go into third. Then he thought he had a chance to score, and now he's hurt.
Reaching for that right hip. And eventually came out of the game. He did score a run. There's Christian Vasquez 0 for 1 with a ground ball to short, but a 7-game hitting streak. Red Sox 2, Yankees 2 here in the 4th inning.
Talk about the health and the age of the Yankees. They only have 2 regular players that are under the age of 31, and one of them's Headley, and he turns 32 on Monday. So there's only going to be one of them, and that's Castro. That is an old lineup.
A-Rod on the DL as we speak. In there for strike. Vasquez showed Betances he can turn around a fastball. Fouls that one back, 88 miles an hour. That 2-run homer last Sunday night, which he absolutely spanked.
He'd have to spank it into a pretty brisk wind blowing in from left field tonight and through the rain.
So far, no reason to delay the game because it's never really come down. It's just sort of a mist, but steady. Summer's coming.
You keep saying that.
I keep predicting that.
Be a lousy weatherman.
Oh, you're telling me. 2 down, Bradley leading, not running. And that's in there over the inside corner for strike 3 at 94. To retire the side, we're still locked up 2-2 in New York. BuyAToyota.com, Toyota's website for deals. By Hair Cuttery, smart looks, smart prices. And by LL Bean, discovery gear that lasts at LLBean.com. Now Starlin Castro will lead things off here as we go to the bottom half of the fourth inning. Tied up 2-2. Steve Lyons, Dave O'Brien with you. Castro the base hit. He has scored a run. He's also hit safely in 9 in a row against the Red Sox. He's always been a good hitter back to his Cubs days. He jumps back out of the way. Castro collected his 1,000th career hit in mid-April. He's only 26.
Yeah. Got an early start on his career with the Cubs. They say he's a much better second baseman than he was a shortstop too. So it's been a good change for him.
Went down on a knee to hit that one and came up empty.
They get the big leg kick. If you get out in front, you take the swing. Now everything collapses. You got nowhere to go. Down on the ground.
To a pop-up foul out of play. With the Cubs back in 2011, he had 207 hits one season. So he's legit.
They were really high on him, and then it was like some defensive lapses at shortstop and, you know, some aloofness. His career kind of got sidetracked by some other prospects that were coming up in the Cubs organization, and then he became expendable.
2 balls and 2 strikes. There was one famous incident where his pitcher was delivering a pitch. This was, I believe, on a Sunday Night Baseball game, and Castro had literally turned to look out to left field, playing shortstop. Turned away from the play.
Wasn't paying attention.
Yeah.
Didn't know the guy was pitching the ball.
Lost his concentration. It happened more than once. The 2-2. Crack back, grounded foul. He'll get another one. We're tied up 2 apiece here in the fourth inning. Red Sox and the Yankees, second go around after the Sox won all 3 at Fenway in the first series. Time now for our twisted but true fact. On this date in 1946, the Yankees became the first team in the majors to commit to traveling by plane through the season. Twisted tea is the hard iced tea that tastes like real iced tea, be a little twisted. Two home. Just got a piece of it.
I remember when the Red Sox first went away from commercial flights and started chartering airlines.
When was that?
1986. My rookie year, we used to take commercial flights. It wasn't that much fun.
So you'd go into the terminal and you'd stand in line just like the rest of us.
Yep. Wait for the flights, have connections sometimes.
High fly to center field, but no carry. And Jackie Bradley comes in on it to make the grab.
To pass the time while we were sitting around in the airports, I used to do the dollar bill trick. Actually, it was the $5 bill trick. You know, I had some fishing line, and I would tie a $5 bill to it, and I'd throw it out in the corridor when people were walking by. It was very childish, and when they'd go to pick it up, I'd yank the string, and we'd all laugh.
Everyone would laugh.
It was fun.
Yep.
Had to do something.
Wow. Well, life before cell phones.
Yeah, you don't even have to worry about that anymore.
Aaron Hicks here. He dropped down a bunt in the second inning to move Castro into scoring position. I'll bet you were a big hot foot guy too.
I wasn't a hot foot guy, but I knew a bunch of people that were. That was to me, that was dangerous.
The hot foot.
Yeah, the hot foot was dangerous. I mean, it was, you know, you're talking about, you know, lighting matches and gum and putting it on the side of a guy's shoe until they can feel it burning. But, you know, your laces can catch on fire, and the next thing you know, your pants are on fire. I mean, you know, you can get injured. So I stayed away from that.
So the way you describe it, it doesn't sound like any fun at all.
No. The only fun in giving a hot foot is the guy that's like crawling under the bench, so you don't see him, and you actually set up the hot foot. But to me, that was just always a little too dangerous. I was afraid I might hurt somebody.
You're a very caring individual.
I am indeed.
We know that on our crew firsthand. A 1-2 to Hicks. He left it high. Did you ever tape someone to the training table?
That probably would have been me. No, that's a good one though. I like that.
I knew you had that in you.
Remember when Pedro got taped to the pole in the dugout?
Fenway, yeah. 2-2, a high fly ball, jack to right, but it hangs up again. And Mookie will wait on this one to come down. So 2 away. Dead & Company will perform live at Fenway Park on July 15th and 16th. That's all part of the Plainridge Park Casino Fenway Concert Series. For tickets and information, visit redsox.com/Dead & Company. Porcello could use a quick inning, and he's on his way with 2 fast outs. And now Gregorius, who is 0 for 1, started the night hitting just .215. He loops that one into left center field. That's going to drop down for a base hit. So no 1-2-3 inning here for Rick Porcello. That's a 2-out single.
He's just going up there looking for the first pitch in this at bat, and it's a nice sinking fastball away. Gregorius goes with it. The only way you can be successful hitting a pitch running away from you as a left-hander is try to go that way. Try to pull it, you'll roll over, and it'll be a weak ground ball to the second baseman.
Brings up Ronald Torreyes, who took a walk in the second inning, one of 2 issued by Rick Porcello in the first 2 innings. Foul ball for strike 1. We're tied up 2-2. The hits are also even at 5 apiece.
You know, we always kind of look at the game and see what might happen. This is an excellent time for Gregorius to be thinking about stealing a base, but you know, Porcello's not that fast to home. But the equalizer is Vasquez sitting behind the dish. He's not an easy guy to steal on. 2 outs. Try to get yourself in scoring position.
Runner holding. Fouled away. So it's 0-2. Porcello has struck out 4. He's 6-4 lifetime against the Yankees in 12 starts.
We did see the same situation last inning with the Red Sox with JBJ on first base. One of the other reasons why they might not go is you got your number 9 hitter up there. If you get thrown out, then you lead off with your number 9 hitter again. Might as well let him complete his at bat, roll that lineup over.
0-2, put in play to third base, and Shaw will go to second, and he'll get him on the forced play to retire the side. So that's the end of 4. It'll be the top of the order. Betts, Pedroia, Bogarts for Boston. To the Cloud Fund. That's the charitable foundation of the Dropkick Murphys. EchoStore Technologies, your data center solutions provider.
Good band. Good guys.
Now Mookie Betts going to lead things off here in the 5th inning. This one locked up 2-2. He has flied to center and walked and stolen a base. Sox have enjoyed playing at night. They are 14-5 in night games.
They got to pick it up here again. Hanging slider right there. He's not thrown that pitch very well. But they have let Pineda sort of settle back into this game after a quick start.
Quickly in front here, 0-2 on Mookie. Yeah, that first inning, he got the first 2 out. Then Bogarts doubled. Ortiz took him out of the yard for a 2-run homer. Ramirez singled and Shaw singled. It looked like they had him on the ropes. Bounced to the plate. But since then, the Red Sox only have 1 hit. It was a single by Jackie Bradley. Mookie Betts has homered twice off Pineda in his young career. Right to the shortstop, charging in Gregorius, and he gets him. He can enter for your chance to win the baseball opportunity of a lifetime. Red Sox Destinations and JetBlue have teamed up to create the ultimate baseball trip to San Francisco. One lucky winner and a guest will win a hotel stay, game tickets, round-trip airfare, and more. If you want to enter, visit redsox.com/JetBlueMint or call 617-226-6400.
Why wouldn't you enter?
Like right now.
Yeah, sounds like a great trip.
Dustin Pedroia 0 for 2. That is one of the marvelous ballparks in Major League Baseball.
You get to meet a Red Sox player on that trip. It is one of the nicest parks in the game. No question. Great city. Tons of Red Sox fans out there too, man.
There are.
Yeah, oh yes.
It's incredible. I'm always amazed by that. I should stop being amazed at how many Sox fans there are in the West Coast, the Midwest, I mean, the South, everywhere. Trickler back to the hill. Easy play for Pineda. The Red Sox these last few innings not getting many good swings against them. 2 down.
Pineda's been able to get ahead in the count and then kind of attack and throw the pitches that he wants to throw instead of pitches he's got to throw.
Brings up Xander Bogaerts. He's doubled and stolen a base and flied to center. 1 for 2. A 2-2 tie at Yankee Stadium. It's actually foul tipped into the mid as he tried to hold up on the swing, and the count's 0-1. Xander has now hit safely in 13 of his last 15 games. And over that span, he's hitting about .420. And he still has not committed an error at shortstop. The floater toward right center field. Here's Ackley to snatch it. And that retires the side. Red Sox go quietly. We're midway through. That's a 2-2 tie. Championship. CU takes home the Ivy League crown. All the action is live Sunday morning at 9 right here on NESN. We are on to the last half of the 5th inning and a 2-2 tie as Porcello goes back to work and deals a strike here on Ackley. He came into the game to replace the injured Jacoby Ellsbury out with a hip problem. And he has singled and he has stolen a base. In between innings on the big board here, they ran through about, how many would you say, 4 or 5 marriage proposals?
Yeah, we were treated to some of the worst marriage proposals I've ever seen in my life.
It was rapid fire. We didn't see, the couples. We just saw the announcement up there.
Yeah, you see a name up there. Hey, Sue, I love you. Marry me, Bob.
Then the next one, and then the next one. Like,
Do you look at Bob and say, oh, yes?
Pedroia down for this one. Throws on to get Ackley. Yeah, does not smack of romance.
Have the PA announcer propose to me at Yankee Stadium, because that is my dream. I don't know.
On a cold and dreary night.
Yeah, it's perfect. Well, he couldn't decide what weather was going to be when he got here, but still, that's not the way to do it, is it?
Maybe not. To each his own.
I've seen him at other ballparks where they'll actually do a wedding proposal and they will show the people on the big screen. They'll show what happened.
Right.
I don't know if I'd do it that way either, but some people really think that's cool. This was not cool.
Brett Gardner has struck out and doubled. Running up to bunt. A very good bunter. He takes ball 1. He has 5 hits in his last 21 at bats. So like many of the Yankees coming in, not swinging it very well. We're tied 2-2 here in the 5th inning. Fly to center field. Plenty of room though for Jackie Bradley.
Jackie can catch that one behind his back.
Porcello settling in to a pretty decent rhythm. Now he'll go after Teixeira with 2 fast outs, and he has struck him out, gotten to fly to left field.
A couple decent innings in the 3rd and 4th. Well on to a way to his another one here, but a little trouble earlier in this start. But Red Sox offense needs to pick it up.
Ground ball routinely hit. That is Travis Shaw to get him from that side of the diamond. So that play will go 5-3. They go 1-2-3, and Big Papi is on the way up for the Red Sox. CU Red Sox historian Gordon Eads will join TC and Jim Rice. Talk about Big Papi catching Yaz on the Red Sox all-time home run list. He's done that tonight. DCU Digital Federal Credit Union. What can DCU save you? David with a 2-run blast in the first inning, his 7th of the year. Number 452 with the Boston Red Sox to tie the great Carl Yastrzemski. Off of Pineda. And this one hammered into the shift. Castro from shallow right. And actually Torres, who made that play, the third baseman in shallow right field.
That's like an enormous shift that Torres has to make. He goes all the way from third base to short right field. Like, why do I have to go all the way over there? Look at where he's playing. We've seen this 100 times with the shift, but usually it's not the third baseman. Again, it's a back-to-back 5 threes on the third baseman on the right side of the infield.
I don't see that every day. Hanley Ramirez now 1 for 2 with a base hit. Hanley has hit the Yankees well in his career. .309 lifetime.
You know what I'm starting to see out of a lot of the Red Sox hitters are pitches that they are upset that they've been taking, and they feel like, oh, I should have been swinging at that pitch. What was I waiting for?
Did he go? He did not. As I always hear hitters like you say, all I want is consistency from the home plate umpire. If it's going to be a little wide, if he's going to give another 1.5 inches, that's fine. Just be the same way all night. Don't move it around.
Right. And it's kind of up to the first 3 hitters of the game to relay that information back to the other guys on the bench.
1 and 2. Did you have a teammate who was the best at that? Would come back and give a great report?
You know, Marty Barrett was great at it. So was Boggs. Boggs saw so many pitches, and then he'd come back and say, hey, that one pitch got called a strike on me. I thought it was off the outer corner, so be ready for that one because it's going to get called a strike.
Laced foul on a half away by Hanley Ramirez. Ted Williams was legendary for grilling teammates who hit in front of him. And if they got back to the dugout and they could not answer the question about how's a slider or was that a curveball or whatever, oh my, he would just take them apart.
He expected the same type of concentration and dedication to the game that he had.
Right. Same eye, which was just about impossible.
That's so impossible, yeah.
1-2 to Hanley. A little trickler. McCann.
Trouble.
Fighting for it. The throw is not going to get him. He battled his own pitcher for it, and Hanley wins it in the end. That'll be his 2nd hit tonight.
I like that. They had the fight, but Hanley won. I think you got to let your pitcher make this play. It's too far to run for the catcher to go out there. It's kind of one of those that are right in the middle. Both guys have to try to go get it. But look at Hanley. Good jump out of the box, hustling down the line. We've seen him do this all season long. I truly believe that last year he wouldn't have really run hard, just figuring he was going to definitely be out, and he would have been out. This year he hustles it into a hit.
Well, can the Red Sox turn that into something now? Here comes Travis Shaw. He has singled and struck out. We're in the 6th inning, tied 2-2. Red Sox reached their hotel in Manhattan at 5:30 this morning. After a 4-hour game last night, they could care less after winning the game. Now trying to beat the Yankees in the first of a 3-game series. Into left center. It was off the end of the bat. That's going to fall in. Hanley up to second base and stopping there, and that completely fooled Hicks, and you can see why. Off the end of the bat, just a flare.
Yeah, and it really just kind of hooked down like a. And watch the big swing of Shaw is what fools it. It looks like he hit this ball pretty well. Hicks takes a couple steps back. In his defense, he's not really a center fielder. He's a corner outfielder. Look at the big swing. This is what fools Hicks a little bit. He thinks he's hit this ball really hard, but it just pool cued it off the end. Watch the spin of the ball, take it to the left. Now Hicks is in trouble. He's got no chance to come back up and get it. Shaw will take 100 of those.
It's his second hit. He's 2 for 3. Brings up Brock Holt. Brock has struck out and grounded out to second, trying to drive in the go-ahead run, put the Red Sox back in front. Boston did lead 2-0 after the first half inning of play. And a strike.
We always like Brock Holt in these situations because he's such a patient hitter. He told me no matter what the situation is, he's almost always trying to hit the ball over the shortstop's head.
He's in the hole, however, now 0-2 against Pineda. Kirby Yates is up in their bullpen. Remember, Pineda only went 5 innings at Fenway last weekend.
You know, he's getting away with some pitches in this ballgame. There's no question. We talked about guys that are like, oh, why did I take that pitch? They've seen pitches to hit that they have fouled off. So he's wiggling his way through this.
The Red Sox lineup does wear you down, though. This is pitch number 97 here in the 6th with 1 out. He dances out of the way. Jackie Bradley on deck.
Got Holt to strike out in the 4th on that cut fastball down and in. Same pitch he just threw. It was a better pitch.
Ramirez at second, Shaw at first. 2-2.
Tried it again.
See that number 8 on the sleeve of all the Yankees to honor the late great Yogi Berra. American treasure. Here's the 2-2. Popped up off third to Reyes. No room for him.
Lots of room down there in those $2,400 a game seats.
Is that the going rate? $2,400?
I believe that's what they opened the stadium with, and no one was sitting there. Of course, it was an economic downturn then. I think they cut the value of the seat in half, but still, you spending $1,200 to go to a game?
You mean I could sit there for $1,200?
Yeah, if you bring your 3 friends, though, it costs you a lot more.
I like our seat.
This is one of the best seats in the house.
Crowd is filled in pretty well. It was pretty light here at the outset. 2-2 and spoiled again. Which Brock Holt does so effectively.
He has such a simple, efficient swing. He's quick to the ball. From his stance to where he takes his swing, there's just no wasted movement.
Now this will put him over 100 pitches. 2 on and a 2-2. Pineda's pitching line is brought to you by your Eastern Lexus dealers. 101 pitches in 5 1/3. And if he walks Brock Holt right here, the bases would be loaded for the red hot Jackie Bradley Jr.
If he walks Holt right here, he's probably out of here. Right over the shortstop's head.
The 3-2. Into center field coming on Hicks, and he plays it out of bounds. Everybody's going to be safe. Hanley Ramirez down to third base. And Brock Holt dunks in a single, and Hicks is having a devil of a time out there.
You know, the reason why Hanley couldn't score on that ball is because Hicks couldn't tell Hanley where it was going to go. This guy has no idea where the ball's going to land. You're not sure if he's going to catch it or if it's going to drop. Hanley has to hold up in case there's some kind of crazy play. And the only thing he can do is move up one base. And Brock Holt does exactly what he's trying to do. Hit it over the shortstop's head.
It's a good chance that the last couple that have been hit in center field, if Ellsbury were out there, he would have caught them.
I would think so.
For Brock Holt, 5 hits in his last 6 at-bats with runners in scoring position.
And in that case, the runner didn't even score.
Right. But the bases are loaded. So he's now hit in 5 consecutive games at .412. And no place to put JBJ. So Hanley's at third, Shaw at second, Brock Holt at first. We are tied 2-2 in the 6th inning.
Are you a little surprised that Pineda's still in this game?
A little bit. I think the only thing that makes me think that Girardi's all right with it is he's not getting hit hard, but they are falling in. An infield single and 2 bloops. Jackie Bradley with a single and a strikeout tonight. And has now hit safely in 12 in a row.
But as you mentioned, this lineup wears you down, wears you down. They've been very opportunistic.
McCann paying a mound visit. Red Sox now at 8 hits. The Yankees have 5.
Jackie's not going to be an easy guy to double up.
Now a couple have fallen in for the Red Sox. Can they turn that into runs? Here's the 0-1 pitch. 1 ball, 1 strike.
That's the pitch that had struck out Holt in the 4th. That's a tough pitch for a lefty if you're looking for a fastball to hit, because it just runs in on your fists.
Pineda in trouble with 1 down, bases loaded. Check swing, and that's inside. It's only 314 feet down that right field line at Yankee Stadium. And the ball really carries to right center here toward that bullpen. That's where there's a bit of a jet stream.
Pineda started him off with a changeup. He's in a fastball count here. He probably should throw another changeup.
The 2-1. Up the middle. Gregorius taps the bag out of first, and they turn the double play. Now Jackie got a little unlucky, hit it to exactly the wrong spot. Nothing doing for the Red Sox as Pineda gets out of it. It's how Dunkin' Donuts shows big-time appreciation to loyal fans with great offers and perks, like a free beverage when you join, another on your birthday. Enroll today at ddperks.com or go to the Dunkin' Donuts mobile app. The Red Sox run on Dunkin'. Back to that double play moments ago.
You're right, OB. He hit it right in the one spot you can't. He's a fast runner, tough to double up, but not when you hit it right up the middle and the shortstop standing there. That's an easy double play.
Red Sox loaded him up, but did not score. That's in for a strike on McCann, so on to the bottom of the 6th.
As a hitter, it's kind of a double-edged sword for you in that situation because you do want to stay in the middle of the field. You don't want to go up there trying to yank or anything. Just stay in the middle, but not dead right up the middle.
McCann is 1 for 2 with a double that drove in a run in the first inning. He's also struck out. 2-2 our score in the 6th. And across for a called strike.
Red Sox infielders making a shift in their own shift.
In there for strike 3. So McCann sits for the second time. Time for a game break. It's brought to you by Jordan's, the furniture store of the Boston Red Sox. And here's TC. DC, thank you very much. A strike called to Beltran, who has whiffed and flied to left. Red Sox continue to shift on the infield.
Go back and forth, back and forth.
So now Travis Shaw back to the right side and Xander Bogaerts to short. And the 0-1. High fly into left. Hangs up for Brock Holtz. 2 down.
Now here's what we saw on 2 consecutive hitters. Shaw and Bogaerts will trade places. I know this has something to do with what the count is and what they're looking to do. I'll make a point of it of going down and asking Brian Butterfield tomorrow exactly what the reasoning is behind that. They did it twice. When McCann was up there in a certain count, they switched.
Yep. Here's Castro. He's beaten out an infield single and flying to center. Base is clean and ball 1. Porcello early in the game had some trouble with his command, but not lately. He's tossing a 5-hitter at the moment. On the verge once again of completing 6 innings.
Through 6 is right.
There's a high fly ball left field down into the corner. Did he hook it too much? Back it goes, and that ball is foul. A foul ball.
Ends up being just a long strike. It was scary.
It is a noisy strike, but just foul.
Good look at it right there, going on the left-hand side of the fair pole. Huh. Who decided to put that camera right there? I like it. Almost hit the camera.
And Castro has been a pain in the neck against the Red Sox. Here's the 1-1. Breaking ball hammered, a tough hop. Shaw snags it and gets him. 1, 2, 3 they go. Although that last out was anything but routine. Go to the 7th, 2-2. Southwest Airlines. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. By Citizens Bank. Visit citizensbank.com. By the great folks at Sullivan Tire and Auto Service. And by the University of Massachusetts, here for a reason. Still tied up here at Yankee Stadium in the Bronx, and this call to the bullpen is brought to you by Kia. So Pineda is done for the evening after 6. He gave up 2 runs, 8 hits. Jason Shreve is the left-hander coming out of their bullpen. He made his 11th appearance on Wednesday in a win at Baltimore, closing out the game with a perfect 9th inning. And Christian Vasquez will square off against him to begin the 7th.
He's also in the game Saturday against the Red Sox. Came in through 2/3 of an inning, gave up a hit and 2 runs in that one, so the Red Sox got to him.
Vasquez is 0 for 2. He has grounded to short and struck out. He'll be followed by Mookie Betts and Dustin Pedroia. As the Sox try and get back on top here tonight in New York.
Here's another example, OB, of pitches that guys should be hitting. Watch this. It's a good pitch to hit. Vasquez is all over it and fouling it straight back. They're just off, as if they landed at 5:30 in the morning.
In tight, 1 and 2. Red Sox have yet to have the leadoff man on base in any inning tonight. And Shreve with a 1-2. And missed badly. Sox are in first place by half a game over the Orioles, and the Orioles were rained out at home against Oakland today. Yankees in last place, 9-17. Fly ball, pretty well hit. Ackley back, gets spun around. It's over his head. He couldn't find it. Takes a hop and then against the fence. Vasquez into second base, and he's got himself a double. And a great start to the 7th for Boston.
And a leadoff runner is on.
With authority to right field on top of that warning track.
This ball is hammered to right. And that's not too bad a pitch, really. It's an excellent job of staying on that pitch. Ackley's got no chance, and Ackley doesn't have the arm of a right fielder, so Vasquez said, I'm going to challenge that.
Hicks, who had been in right field, has moved to center field. He has a much better arm. 4th double of the year for Vasquez. So now it's up to Mookie Betts to drive him in or move him over. He's gone 0 for 2 with a walk and has been skidding a bit lately with the bat, indicating a bunt, and he takes a ball.
I suppose in Ackley's defense, he's been primarily a second baseman his whole life.
We'll see if Mookie looks to lay one down here. He did tell us during spring training he'd be bunting more this year.
Well, if he's bunting here, it's because someone told him to. Drop it down, move a guy over.
Pulls it away, and that's ball 2.
Now, if you look at the defensive alignment with Vasquez on second base, and if you play any baseball at all, you want to bunt the ball to the third base side. You really want the third baseman to have to come in and field it. That way Vasquez can walk to third. Teixeira has nothing to do at first, so he can charge much harder. You don't want to bunt it to his side.
Good count, the 2-0, not bunting here, and he takes a strike. Borderline pitch, but a strike. So now they could leave the bunt on this pitch on 2-1. Dustin Pedroia on deck.
I say let Mookie swing it. As you said, he's been sliding a little bit, but he might be get a good pitch to hit. Still one of your best hitters.
He does bunt. He pops it up, and the catcher will make the play. So not a good effort there by Mookie. That's a big out for the Yankees.
Well, he doesn't do it very often. He doesn't get the opportunity to bunt. I think the mistake he makes here is he doesn't really give himself up. He's almost trying to drag this bunt and try to get a base hit out of it instead of giving his at-bat up, making sure you get the bunt down, and then run.
So that'll bring out Girardi. He's going to lift the left-hander here and go back to the bullpen. It'll be Yates, the right-hander, to face Dustin Pedroia, and then Xander Bogaerts after him. So we'll take the break as well. We are still tied 2-2 in the 7th inning at Yankee Stadium. With a 200% guarantee. Treat yourself for someone special by visiting aceticket.com or by calling 1-800-MY-SEATS. Here's Dustin Pedroia taking on Kirby Yates out of their bullpen. No wins or losses, an ERA right at 3. He's worked 9 innings. He's walked 7 men. 1 out. Vasquez at second.
Whoa.
That is high and tight. It's happened a couple of times to Pedroia.
To Dustin, yeah. It's like he's got a target on the side of his helmet there. Ooh, get out of the way of that.
And the Red Sox had the bases loaded, 1 out in the 6th inning and didn't score. And now leadoff double by Vasquez, but Betts could not bunt him over as he popped it up.
Now, this is a strange game too. You know, when managers get second guessed, it's usually when their players can't execute the plan that's put in place.
That's a strike.
If Mookie gets the bunt down and Vasquez is now standing on third with 1 out, you can debate whether or not you think it's a good idea to bunt or give yourself 3 opportunities to drive him in. But at least you did your job. Now, because Betts popped up, you can say, well, why are you bunting there? It wasn't Farrell's fault that Betts popped up.
Line shot and knocked down by Gregorius. He'll throw the first and picked out of the dirt by Teixeira. Vasquez holding at second base. And 2 down.
A wicked line drive that hits Gregorius right in the heel of his glove and then off the chest. Now he hurries the throw, so he's going to bounce it. And Teixeira, who has always been able to pick it over their first base. That's a nice play at the back end of that.
2 down. Red Sox on the verge of wasting a leadoff double in a tie game in the 7th inning. Xander Bogaerts, he's doubled. He's flied out again. Red Sox getting chances these last couple of innings. Strike 1. David Ortiz on deck. He's blasted a home run tonight. That was in the 1st inning. to tie Carl Yastrzemski for second on the Red Sox all-time home run list. 452. He would not chase. 1 ball, 1 strike. Red Sox 2, Yankees 2 in the 7th. And here comes the 1-1 from Yates. 2-1.
It's a much better take from Bogaerts right there. In his previous at bats tonight, he looked a little aggressive, like he's pulling off the ball a little bit. We've seen how good he can be as a guy with an inside-out swing. His idol Derek Jeter wears the same number, playing in the city that Jeter played in. That's the way he hit. Inside out.
2-1 pitch. He dropped the bat. That one was up high again. And the count goes to 3-1.
It's a ball that just gets away from him again. A breaking ball just spinning. Seen a lot of balls up around the helmet of Red Sox hitters tonight.
A hitter's count for Xander. 3-1, 2 out. Vasquez at second. Tied up 2-2. Check swing and a strike. Back to the fastball at 93.
Again, another one of those pitches where after they take the pitch, they're like, what am I doing? That's my pitch to hit. Watch the reaction of Bogaerts. Why didn't I swing? There's Bogaerts reminding himself, putting that hand up on the shoulder to try to keep that shoulder down and through the ball.
3-2. And he struck him out. And Xander did not like the call from Ron Culpa, who rings him up. And the Red Sox waste a golden chance to retake the lead tonight. They strand Vasquez, who led off the inning with a double, at second base. Southwest Airlines, transparency, low fares, and nothing to hide. It's been a chilly night here in New York City and a little bit on the rainy side. And we are still tied up at 2-2. As we go to the bottom of the 7th inning, Rick Porcello goes back out there. 6th inning, strong again. He's allowed 2 earned runs. Xander Bogaerts 1 for 4 with a double. David Ortiz has crushed his 7th home run. Pineda was done after 6, and McCann has an RBI double tonight. Red Sox have had the better scoring chances over the last couple of innings. Unable to get that go-ahead run across.
Now, speaking of those scoring chances, they got off to a great start with the big home run off the bat of Ortiz, but here a double play in the 6th with the bases loaded, and the Yankees are out of the inning. And then Betts asked to drop a bunt down, couldn't do it, with Vasquez on second base, and then Bogaerts, same situation, takes a call third. Just a filthy fastball in the outer half.
So Rick Porcello going 6 innings or better in 14 consecutive starts now. He's been particularly strong these last 2 innings, getting them 1, 2, 3 in the 5th and again in the 6th. He's about to get the bottom third of their order.
One of the great signs for the Red Sox pitchers of late is that they've been getting stronger the deeper into ball games they've gotten. We saw the Price start where he struck out 8 of the last 9 guys he saw at one point. Porcello getting stronger in this one.
Hicks to lead it off. He has a sacrifice bunt. He's also flying out to right field. He'll be followed by Gregorius and then Torres. 2 runs on 9 hits for Boston, 2 runs on 5 hits for the Yankees. Neither side has made an error. There's a shot, driven to right, back it goes, way gone. Yankees lead it 3-2. Hicks jumping all over that pitch.
It's always what you have to worry about late in the game, as a guy that's going to go up there and look to ambush your first pitch fastball. It's his first home run of the season. It's only his 4th hit of the year. Sitting dead red, got it. It's a sinker that didn't move enough.
Well, that from a guy who was 3 for 34 on the season before that swing is Gregorius. Bounding ball to Hanley. He'll backhand that and take it himself. So here in the 7th inning, the Yankees have the lead 3-2. Tonight's suits are designed by Joseph Abboud, custom made in the USA of fine Italian fabrics, available at Men's Warehouse. Torres has walked and also hit into a fielder's choice. And dropped in there for strike 1.
I wonder why Torres is even playing. Chase Headley is just having a terrible time. Hitting a .151. He only has 11 hits on the season and no extra base hits.
Check swing. He didn't mean to. Vasquez out from behind there will get him. Tommy Lane now throwing in the Red Sox bullpen. And it'll be the top of the order, Dustin Ackley for the Yankees.
Imagine Chase Headley with almost 80 at-bats into the season with not a single extra base hit. It's a guy who had 35 home runs and 115 RBIs a couple of seasons ago.
Ackley swings at the first pitch, tags one deep to center field, but Jackie Bradley on the back pedal now comes in. And that retires the side, but the Yankees are out in front now 3-2 on the home run by Hicks, and David Ortiz about to lead off. From the Patriots' first draft pick of 2016, plus highlights and analysis right here in the Bronx. NESN Sports Today, presented by People's United Bank. See what know-how can do. A couple of changes here for the Yankees, have just taken a 3-2 lead. Ben Gamble is in right field, making his debut here. He was just recalled on Thursday to make his big league debut. And here's Dellin Betances again. And the Red Sox really shook his world at Fenway Park last weekend. Giant home runs from David Ortiz, who's about to lead off the 8th. And Christian Vasquez back to Big Poppy.
A little backdoor cutter and just hammered it. Hit that ball a long way the other way.
And remember, that was on a breaking ball, and David was looking for that. He had studied a lot of video and personal experience with Betances and expected that curveball, and he slaughtered it.
Betances has settled down since that outing in Boston. Pitched well against Baltimore. But he has not been the same guy this year. He used to be pretty automatic.
Ortiz has already belted a 2-run homer tonight in the first inning. There's a shot right field, but that's going to hang up. And Gamble is there to make the play. So 1 man out in the Red Sox 8th inning. Stay tuned for Red Sox Final, presented by Plainridge Park Casino. TC and Jim Rice will break down David Price's start tomorrow. Also highlights from around the American League East. 1 man out, Hanley Ramirez to climb in. He has singled twice tonight and flied to right, 2 for 3. He homered twice in Chicago. 3-2 Yankees in the top half of the 8th. On the radar gun on the swing and miss.
Gamble, who was just inserted into the game. Of course, the first ball is always hit to you when you come into the game as a defensive guy, but he's playing way into right center field. Hanley's been hitting the ball down the right field line quite a bit. He's got a lot of room over there if he wants to go there again.
Betances 6'8", about 265, born right here in New York.
Obi, he is a monster. You ever walked past him?
I have, and there was a considerable shadow.
Oh. I'm 6'3", 220. He made me look puny. On TV, it just does not do him justice at all for how huge he is.
1-1. 100 on the radar gun.
It's an easy 100 too. He's not a max effort guy, but look at the zip on that fastball.
A ball and 2 strikes on Hanley Ramirez. Travis Shaw on deck. That one missed apparently. So said Ron Culpa. Awfully close.
It's only 99. Was not framed well. Maybe that's why he didn't get the pitch.
Catchers prefer presented.
Yes.
2-2. Line shot to right field, but foul into the stands. Don't miss the Charity Classic benefit concert featuring Grammy award-winning Lady Antebellum at the Dunkin' Donuts Center, Providence, on June 28th. Get your tickets at Ticketmaster.com/CharityClassicFenway. Eighth inning, Yankees in front 3-2. And 3-2 now on Hanley Ramirez.
Great take by Hanley. Tough pitch to lay off.
Got to sit dead red, don't you?
Yeah. When the guy's throwing 100, it's hard to look for anything else. You better gear it up. He did a good job of taking that bad slider. Did it again. Oh, that's not a strike. Hanley's asking him if that's a called strike or did I swing at it. And I think Culp is saying that's a called strike.
Getting a little bit heated. John Farrell will take away his first baseman as he strikes out. That was not on the fastball.
It's not a strike either.
I think he called him out.
Huh?
Called third strike.
Absolutely called third strike. That's not on the swing. And that's not a good call. It was an excellent at bat by Hanley.
Here's Travis Shaw now. As he takes one low. He has gone 2 for 3 with 2 singles.
Well, you got to gear up to hit 100, and he drops that pitch on you, and you're able to hold up, and it's not a strike, and you get it taken away from you. That's why he had something to say.
He had a beef. The 1-0. 1 ball and 1 strike on Shaw. Brock Holt would hit next if given the opportunity. 3-2 Yankees in the 8th. On a home run by Hicks. That's a ball inside. 2-1. They get Andrew Miller going into bullpen.
When it gets late and the Yankees have a lead, they got about 6 guys that can close games. And they're going to get Chapman back on Monday.
Cross for a called strike. That's when his suspension ends. He throws harder than any of them. So 2-2 on Shaw with the bases empty and 2 down.
Shaw looking for a mistake.
Just hit it foul. Just a little trickler back behind the plate. Check out an all-new Red Sox report Tuesday at 5. Follow the career of future Red Sox Hall of Famer Jason Varitek. That's Tuesday night at 5 on Nesson. Here's the 2-2 again. Ground ball toward that hole, and a dive and a knockdown. Torreyes knocks it into shallow center. It'll be another base hit for Travis Shaw. His 3rd hit of the night.
You keep looking back to that Ramirez at bat and how things might have changed. You could knock this down. You're probably not going to get up and throw Travis Shaw out.
And Joe Girardi marching out there. He wants the left-hander Miller now with Brock Holt coming up. So that will do it for Betances. And on comes the lefty. So we will take a break for the pitching change here in the 8th inning. The Red Sox with the tying run aboard with 2 down. 3-2 Yankees. NESN's looking for youth baseball and softball teams to be a live studio audience for NESN Clubhouse. Visit NESNClubhouse.com, click on studio audience, and enter your son or daughter's team today. So Miller will be brought in. Brock Holt goes to the bench. Chris Young will bat for him. He's 4 for 16 against lefties. So that's a .250 average. 2 out. Shaw at first base, and the first one in tight for ball 1.
Now you look at Andrew Miller's numbers there, and there's not a whole lot to be optimistic about when you face this guy. Goodness. ERA 0. 16 strikeouts. How many walks? 0. This is a guy that used to walk people routinely. Couldn't throw the ball over the plate.
Well, last season he had 4 saves of more than 1 inning. So Girardi brings him on to do it again. A 1-run Yankee lead, 3-2 in the 8th. Sox have had some frustrating innings tonight. That's a strike. Keep getting chances to score over these last few innings.
A lot of missed opportunities in this game so far. Got off to a hot start, and you thought, whoa, here they go again. A lot of goose eggs after that.
3 balls and 1 strike. Good count for Young. 2 down. Shaw at first base.
Young's got to think that he's got to be the guy to do something. You got Jackie coming up behind him, who's been on fire, but lefty on lefty.
That is down and in for ball 4, so he walks him. So Young is on. Jackie Bradley coming up. So the Red Sox have the tying run at second base, and tomorrow at 12, don't miss Red Sox first pitch, presented by Joseph Abboud, available at Men's Warehouse. TC and Jim Rice with special coverage as Boston College pays tribute to Pete Frates.
At times last year and earlier this season, Jackie Bradley had really scuffled against lefties. Brought those numbers up, but this will be an uncomfortable at bat against Andrew Miller.
Lefty on lefty.
That's why. See that thing? That pitch is coming from the Yankee dugout. Jelly legs Jackie a little bit.
Jackie's last 11 games against the Yankees, he's hitting .441. Just got a piece and foul tipped it, and it's 0-2. Red Sox have had 6 base runners over the last 3 innings and have yet to score an additional run. Two out, 2 on, 2 strikes. Got him looking. Strike 3. Side retired, and the Red Sox frustrated again. They will strand 2. Still 3-2 New York. It's a quality outing. 7 innings again, 6 hits and 3 runs, all earned. He threw 102 pitches. He did allow the home run to Hicks to lead off the 7th inning. That's the difference in the game.
Yeah, and that's going to be the one that will bother him the most. And that happens a lot in these games. You get late, you get a guy that's pitched his heart out, but getting a little low on fumes. You want to get ahead. You throw that first pitch fastball, and some guy goes up there looking to ambush it and gets it.
Gives way to the left-hander Tommy Lane to begin the bottom half of the 8th inning. Yankees leading 3-2. This will be Tommy's 8th appearance. 3.60 the ERA. Brett Gardner, the first man in against him. He's 1 for 3 with a double. Then Teixeira and McCann. So the Red Sox pen needing to hold here. Chris Young staying in the game in left field after he took a walk as a pinch hitter, batting for Brock Holt. That's a called strike. In the 9th inning, the Red Sox have due up Vasquez, Betts, and Pedroia.
You got to assume Tommy Lane's in here to face all 3 of these next hitters. Teixeira will jump to the right side, and then McCann again, the lefty.
Foul tip down to the mid. That's a very strong effort once again for Porcello. The Red Sox have had the better opportunities here in the late innings to get the lead.
Opportunities in the 6th, 7th, and 8th innings.
Two checked his swing and didn't go, according to Jerry Meals. The attendance here tonight, 45,756.
Didn't feel that way when it began, did it?
A lot of them got here late.
What are we in LA?
Cold and bitter night. Certainly not LA. And the 2-2 just missed.
Somewhere down at first base, Hanley Ramirez is saying that was a strike on me.
He had a long conversation with Ron Culpa in between innings. And outside, he walked him. So certainly not what Lane had in mind, walking a very fast guy. Tomorrow morning at 9 on Dining Playbook, Billy and Jenny try out a new sport, bubble soccer. Plus learn what local spots to hit before, during, and after a Red Sox game. Don't miss Dining Playbook tomorrow morning at 9 on Nesson, driven by your New England Chevy dealers.
More than just walking a leadoff hitter, it's walking a leadoff hitter that has not been swinging the bat very well.
And one who can really run.
Put him on, you're looking for trouble.
Teixeira turning over to bat right-handed. He has gone 0 for 3. One and nothing. Teixeira on their just completed road trip went 7 for 30. So now on a 7 for 33 skid. But he still has good power. Zipped in for a strike at 89, right on the edge of the plate. Yankees 3, Red Sox 2, bottom of the 8th inning. And the 1-1 from Lane will not be made as Gardner hustles back. Andrew Miller will be going back out there for the 9th inning for the Yankees. Lane with a 1-1 pitch, again over to first base and back in Gardner.
People don't like it when you throw over to first base, but you got to pay attention to Gardner. This is a huge insurance run for them if it scores.
Ground ball. Nice play by Hanley. He'll go to second base. Got the out there. Back to first. Double play with Lane covering. Red Sox turn it. 3-6-1.
Tommy Lane is a great athlete, and he got over quickly when this ball is hit. They work on that time and time again. Watch how quick he moves. No hesitation. He knows he's got to get there. He gets there in time to set up and take the throw from Bogaerts. Really nicely done by everybody. Hanley made a nice play as well.
So Teixeira hits into the twin killing. Now the bases are empty from McCann with 2 down. He's 1 for 3 with a double. Gently hit. Bogaerts is there, and the side is retired. So the Red Sox down by 1 as we go to the 9th inning in New York. Poll question presented by People's United Bank. Steve, let's see what topics people can vote on to hear you talk about tonight on NESN Sports Today. Ortiz tying Yaz, missed opportunities, or the Yankees bullpen? Text your answer to 536-536. Message and data rates may apply. 1 message per vote.
I'm not going to talk about any of those.
You have to.
No, I'm going to talk about the Red Sox comeback win.
Oh, like the way you think here.
Put that on the list.
Well, here's Josh Rutledge, and he is batting for Vasquez to begin the 9th inning. Red Sox trailing 3-2. And that comeback may begin right here. He is 6 for 13 at the plate. Betts and then Pedroia will follow.
Jeez, that didn't have to be a strike either.
The Yankees, by the way, are 89-0 when leading after 8 innings since the start of last season. They're 8-0 this year.
Well, that guy right there's had a heck of a lot to do with it. Betances, Andrew Miller last year just virtually unhittable. And they add Chapman this year.
2-2. Miller has not gone beyond an inning in any stint so far this season.
With his leverage and arm angle, he finds it so easy to get in on right-handers.
2-2. Roped but foul. The difference in the game is an Aaron Hicks solo home run, which untied the game in the 7th inning off Rick Porcello. Rick Porcello would take the loss at this point, unless the Red Sox can rally. The lanky lefty's pitch. Up the middle. Over the bag is Castro, airborne, close, he's going to be safe. And the Red Sox have the leadoff man on. Rutledge with a base hit.
Again. Rutledge is quickly becoming a very viable member of this ball club, especially off the bench. The at-bats he gives you. He can play defense at various positions. And this is a fantastic play by Castro, but Rutledge could run well.
Lunging at the tape and beating it clearly. So the Red Sox have that all-important leadoff man aboard, and here's Mookie Betts, who has been slumping. Mookie tried to bunt with a runner at second base and nobody out in the 7th inning. He popped up the bunt. It was caught by McCann. You weren't thrilled with the play.
No, I probably would have let him hit, and I think I said that before. So I'm not trying to second guess. I just think I would have given the top of my lineup 3 opportunities to drive in someone from second base.
Hooked in there for a called strike.
He's second on the team, tied with a couple other players in RBIs this season. So he's certainly not a typical leadoff hitter that can just go up there and bunt. I want to see if Miller tries to get inside on Mookie, though. We all know that that's where he likes it.
That's a strike. Now 1-2.
OB, this is unhittable. It's an unhittable pitch. Nasty.
Mookie 0 for 3 with a strikeout against Miller. 1-2. Tried to hold up. Did he go? He did. That's strike 3. Down he goes. He's had a tough night.
He did go onside on it, but it was all breaking balls. That is such a nasty pitch. Certainly understand why Miller's so tough. I mean, we've seen it before.
Dustin Pedroia now 0 for 4 tonight.
We used to get to see it firsthand.
When he was with the Red Sox, Pedroia hitting .312 with 4 home runs. Downstairs for ball 1.
Miller throws harder, but his arm action and his height reminds me a little bit about the old Yankee and Pirate John Candelaria. Throws across his body.
Miller 6'7".
I think Candyman was 6'8".
Yankees ahead in the 9th inning, 3-2, 1 out. Red Sox with a tying run on, though. Rutledge at first base. Bogart's on deck. Here's the 2-0. Around the outside edge.
All right.
3-0.
I think if it was somebody else, Pedroia might have the green light here, but I think he wants the opportunity to maybe see if Miller gets wild here.
A strike. Plate has been just a little bit wide all night long. Three and 1. So Pedroia gets something to jump on right here. Shot into left. Coming on Gardner. Bounces in for a base hit. Rutledge into second and stopping there. Pedroia with a sharp single, and the Red Sox are in business. First and second, 1 out. The tying run at second base for Xander Bogaerts.
Great at bat by Petey. Got himself into a fastball count. Got the fastball. And turned it right back around.
Larry Rothschild out for a mound visit. Xander Bogaerts doubled in the first inning. Since then he has flied to center, flied to right, and struck out looking. And suddenly the Red Sox pen is a flurry of activity. Koji and Kimbrel And David Ortiz has moved to the on-deck area.
You would think if they tie it, it would be Koji. If they pull ahead, it would be Kimbrel.
Well, that's up to Xander Bogaerts. Hitting .307. 2 on, 1 out. The Red Sox keep giving themselves chances. Ball 1.
Good speed on second base. The best outfield arm for the Yankees is in center field.
We've got a young kid in right field whose major league career is 5 minutes old. Here's the 1-0 pitch. And a strike.
Oh. Now you gotta give Miller a lot of credit. He lives on the edges. There's nothing out over the middle of the plate. He's getting the benefit of the doubt on a lot of those calls, but he's been right there.
1-1, little pop-up, loop toward left. Gregorius stumbled a bit, going back, he slides, he can't get it! And everybody's going to be safe. Rutledge down to third base as the throw comes home and the bases are loaded up. Gregorius had started for the outfield, but he slipped. He lost his footing, and it'll be a base hit. And they are all loaded up for David Ortiz.
You see Gardy in there trying to fake like he can catch it just to hold the runners. Gregorius can't get back there, trying to make the over-the-shoulder catch. Hits off his glove and can't make it. And we've already shown you a bunch of times in center field out there. He hasn't been able to make a play all day. Hicks hasn't been able to come in and make that play. We've seen 3 of those.
So now the Red Sox can tie the game by making it out. And David Ortiz, who has belted a 2-run homer tonight, will climb in against Andrew Miller, against whom he is 1 for 6.
And he may not see a fastball in this entire at-bat.
He flares that one foul. 93 miles an hour in on the thumbs.
Now go to work away. No shift with the bases loaded.
The Red Sox have them loaded up. And that misses outside. Rutledge at third, Pedroia at second, Bogaerts at first base. Red Sox down 1 in the 9th inning. And the right man at the plate.
I don't think Miller wants to give Big Papi anything to pull. Away, away, away.
Miller struck him out on Sunday when they last squared off.
As you mentioned, OB, this is the first time this season for Miller. He's had to try to get a 4-out save, and he had to sit on the bench in between. Closers don't like doing that too much.
The 2-1. Trying to hold up to the offer, and he did not offer, according to Meals. No swing, and it's 3-1. Well, you can tell Miller is frustrated by that call.
Well, hey, he's had the benefit of the doubt on a lot of calls so far tonight. That's not a swing. And now you may see Big Papi get a fastball to hit.
Well, Andrew Miller has not walked anyone this season. The 3-1 to Big Papi. In there for a strike. And now David is angry. Here comes John Farrell. Out to get David away. And I think he got to him just in the nick of time, David. Oh, now Farrell has been thrown out of the game. David Ortiz hopping Matt Hanley. Ramirez is over to move him away. The count 3-2 now. And John Farrell has been tossed out of the game.
Red Sox hitters have kept their cool all night on a lot of borderline pitches that have been called strikes. Take a look at this one. Wow. I don't know what happened there with McCann, too. I think McCann got crossed up. Oh, that was supposed to be a fastball. It ended up being a slider. No one could catch it.
Here's the 3-2. Check swing, and it's in there for a strike 3.
Wow.
2 down. Big Papi strikes out.
Well, is this on a swing or is this a called strike? That better be on a swing, because that pitch is too low.
That is not on a swing. That is a called.
That's terrible right
strike.
there. That is terrible.
And here comes Ortiz, and I believe David has been tossed out. Boy, I have rarely seen him anywhere near that angry. But let's be honest, Culpa's had a horrible night back there, and both teams would say that. His plate has been, well, who knows? Who knows where it's been, but Ortiz livid with him. His night is over. John Farrell has been thrown out as well. And how about this drama at the very end?
Well, John Farrell back on the field, too. I mean, I'm not, after you get thrown out, I don't know how long you can hang around. Here's a replay of Big Papi coming back out there. I'll tell you what, you're right. The strike zone has been erratic all night, but you cannot have your worst at bat as an umpire in the most crucial situation in the game with the bases loaded in that situation.
Well, the Red Sox are still in it. 2 down, bases loaded. 3-2 Yankees in the ninth. And it falls on the shoulders of Hanley Ramirez. And remember, he was really angry at Culpa in his last at bat when he was called out on a 3rd strike. So Culpa's been hearing it all night. His ears are ringing.
That just wasn't a strike.
Man at every base here with 2 down. Hanley has 2 hits. He's gone 2 for 4.
Regroup.
Right through there for strike 1.
The Red Sox have always relied on Big Papi to come through in the big moments. There has been many years when teams have relied on this guy to come through in big moments.
0-1 pitch cut on and missed. And the Red Sox are down to their last strike on what has been a very frustrating night. John Farrell thrown out. David Ortiz tossed out. Still a chance, though. Bases jammed. Hanley asking for time, and he gets it from Culpa.
Hanley has a chance to shut up about 45,000 people right here.
Rutledge, Pedroia, and Bogarts leading. 1-2. Just about everybody standing at Yankee Stadium. The Yankees clinging to a 1-run lead, 3-2. Red Sox trying to rally. The ball game. Ultimately very frustrating for the Red Sox. They leave the bases loaded. They also had the bases loaded back in the 6th inning and did not score. Had many opportunities over the last 3 innings, but in the end fall short. And TC, a tough way to lose. The Yankees 3 and the Red Sox 2.